Breaking news now, Israeli military operations in Gaza escalate. Israel ramped up its attacks on Hamas militants in Gaza on Monday, as the growing number of civilian casualties in the conflict that began on October 7 drew increasing international condemnation. Israel and Hamas's return to open warfare following the expiration of a truce has sent shockwaves across a region on the verge of a larger conflict. Israeli airstrikes on Palestinian territory and militant rocket launches toward Israel have both resumed since the ceasefire expired on Friday. Fighting has also resumed in Gaza between advancing Israeli forces and Hamas. Israeli airstrikes on northern Gaza over the weekend produced dense smog and dust clouds. The Israeli army said on Sunday that they had intercepted the majority of rocket salvos fired from Gaza into Israel, according to the Hamas-run Gaza government and the official Palestinian news agency Wafa. The entrance of the Kamal Adwan hospital in the territory's northern region was struck by a strike late Sunday, according to the news agency. The strike claimed the lives of multiple individuals. Meanwhile, on Telegram, Hamas accused Israel of a grave violation of humanitarian law. When AFP reached out to the Israeli military, they declined to comment on the suspected strike right away. Israel accuses Hamas of utilizing civilian facilities, such as hospitals, for military objectives. However, the militant group denies this accusation. The IDF continues to expand its ground operation against main Hamas fronts in the Gaza Strip, stated Daniel Hagari, a military spokesman for Israel, on Sunday. The Israel Defense Forces operate wherever there is a Hamas stronghold, he said, referring to Israel. Negotiations have reached a deadlock. In response to the militant group's assaults on October 7 that killed approximately 1,200 people, primarily civilians, Israel has promised to crush Hamas. A further 240 individuals, including minors and the elderly, were captured and taken captive into Gaza as a result of the assaults. Over 15,500 people have been killed in the territory since October 7, with over 50% of those casualties being women and children, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas. As part of a ceasefire brokered by Qatar with backing from Egypt and the U.S., 240 Palestinians detained in Israeli prisons were released in return for the freedom of 80 Israeli hostages. The release of over 20 more prisoners from Gaza was also announced. Regardless, despite requests for a truce from around the world, fighting broke out again on Friday. Israeli negotiators were pulled out of Qatar following the impasse in the negotiations to renew the truce, according to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office. The following day, the Israeli military reports that 137 hostages are still held in Gaza. Until a permanent ceasefire is reached, Hamas has refused to release any more. Israeli military officials announced on Sunday that, since the war began, their forces have conducted approximately 10,000 airstrikes. Israel reported 2 casualties among its soldiers on Sunday, marking the first casualties since the truce's end. Many others are still stuck under the rubble, stated Ashraf al-Qudra, a spokesman for the Hamas Health Ministry. He added that in the past few hours, only 316 dead and 664 injured have been rescued from the rubble and taken to hospital. As the number of casualties in Gaza continues to rise, the world is becoming more concerned about Israel's handling of the war to destroy Hamas. Hospitals in southern Gaza were overwhelmed on Sunday with casualties, some of whom were screaming in agony. From Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, UNICEF spokesman James Elder stated, "I am running out of ways to describe the horrors hitting children here." That was in a video. Currently, in southern Gaza, there is the most intense bombardment of the war. He stated in the video, which was posted on X, formerly Twitter, that he is witnessing thousands of children killed. As part of a convoy transporting casualties from northern Gaza, 9-year-old Huda, who sustained a head wound, arrived at the Deir al-Balah hospital. Her father, Abdulkarim Abu Warda, broke down in tears and said, "She doesn't answer me anymore." Drones over the Red Sea. The U.S., a staunch supporter of Israel's military and a provider of billions of dollars in yearly military aid, has stepped up its demands that Israel spare the lives of Gaza's civilians. Speaking to reporters at the United Nations Climate Summit in Dubai, Vice President Kamala Harris expressed her deep concern over the loss of innocent lives among the Palestinian people. The victims would still be alive if Hamas hadn't carried out the attacks on October 7, according to Israeli government spokesman Alan Levy, who placed the blame on the terrorist organization on Sunday, while assisting commercial ships in the Red Sea, a U.S. destroyer shot down multiple drones, according to U.S. Central Command. This comes as fears of a wider regional conflagration are rising. There has been a dramatic increase in the danger to shipping in the region due to recent drone and missile launches towards Israel and the seizure of a cargo vessel by the Houthi rebels of Yemen, who are backed by Iran and who claimed responsibility for targeting two of the ships. Following Baghdad's warning to Washington against attacks on Iraqi territory the previous day, Iraqi security sources reported that at least 5 pro-Iranian militants were killed in an airstrike on Sunday. The northern border of Israel with Lebanon was also the scene of fighting. In reaction to fire from across the border, the Israeli army claimed to have launched artillery strikes, and fighter jets struck multiple targets associated with the Lebanese militant organization Hezbollah. Supported by Iran, a missile strike on a military vehicle was one of multiple attacks that Hezbollah claimed it had carried out against Israeli positions.